Good evening, Little Masters, and welcome to episode 206 of the Prancing Pony Podcast, where ever our whispering is in your ears.
Well, yeah, but without the whole poisoning your thought, chilling your heart, and all that business.
Fair. At least we hope.
At least we hope. If we do have that effect, please let us know.
Please.
But folks, go ahead and pull up a bench in the common room. I'm Sean Marchese, the real-life Lord of the Mark, and I'm here with the Man of the West, who has yet to learn gentle speech under anyone's rod, Alan Sisto.
I suppose I should be grateful you've forgotten your wrath for a while, Sean.
Well, I may be reminded of it soon.
I'm sure. Folks, today we're going to be talking about the third and last part of The King of the Golden Hall. That's Chapter 6 in Book 3 of The Lord of the Rings. This is when the last host of Rohan thunders into the west.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, chills.
I feel like we've been saying it throughout this chapter, but oh man, this chapter is so
This
great.
chapter, top to bottom, this chapter is amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, it truly is. Now, for those of you joining us for the first time, welcome, and go listen to our last two episodes as soon as you can.
Please do, yeah.
But here at the Prancing Pony Podcast, we are working our way through J.R.R. Tolkien's Legendarium a few pages at a time.
We study the details, we make connections to other writings, we talk about our favorite themes.
And we have a lot of fun along the way, so we are so glad you've joined us.
We are, and we hope you'll be glad you joined as well.
Absolutely. But before we get back to the text of this incredible chapter, it's time for one of our listeners' favorite segments, Philology Faire. Well, today's Philology Faire is a request from one of our cherished research assistants, Marilyn R. Pukila. Marilyn asked us to look into the etymology of the word pity. Well, certainly a word we've used a lot on this show, and there's a very interesting usage of it near the beginning of our chapter discussion today, so it seems like a good time. Now, Marilyn was asking us about the way the word pity can have different shades of meaning.
Right. I mean, it can mean something more or less like mercy. We talk about how the pity of Bilbo in dealing with Gollum may rule the fate of many.
Right.
But it can also mean, feeling sorry for someone.
Yeah, Marilyn, in her email to us, put it, "Oh, you poor thing."
Yeah.
So I will be thinking of this as the "oh, you poor thing" sense of pity. So let's look into these multiple senses. Well, first of all, the origin of the word, right?
Okay.
Pity is a borrowing from French pité, or sometimes spelled pitié, and it ultimately comes from Latin, like most French words. Now, interestingly, the Latin word that it's from is pietas, which happens to be the same word that gives us the modern English word piety.
Oh.
In other words, pity and piety were originally the same word.
Oh, wow. Did not know that.
I did not either until I found this in the Oxford English Dictionary. The sense of Latin pietas, piety, was in post-classical Latin extended so as to include compassion, pity, and it was in this sense that the word first appears in Old French in its two forms, pitié and piété. Gradually, these forms were differentiated in French, so that piété, which more closely represented the Latin form, was used in the original Latin sense of piety, while pitié retained the extended sense, pity.
Huh.
In Middle English, both pity and piety are found first in the sense of compassion, and subsequently in the sense piety, and the differentiation in sense is not complete until the 17th century.
Wow.
So what that means is that for much of the history of the English language, the words pity and piety were at least partially interchangeable. Each one of those words could be used for both meanings until about the 17th century.
Wow.
But the first meaning of both of those words that appeared in English was the sense of pity that actually appeared around 1250 in Middle English. The piety sense didn't appear in English until around 1500. Which is all very interesting, but it doesn't really answer Marilyn's question, does it?
Well, no, but it is interesting, as you say, and we do that a lot. Call it a big digression if you want. But
Yeah.
I figure you'll eventually get to answering the question. I know better than interrupt you when you're on full word nerd status.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. All right. So let's ignore all the stuff that I just said about how the word could once upon a time mean piety, because fascinating as it is, that sense isn't used in Tolkien at all that I can see.
No.
But there are various shades of meaning covered under the pity sense. So let's talk about those.
Okay.
The earliest sense of pity, meaning pity, was in 1250 with a meaning of mercy or compassion, clemency, mercy, mildness, tenderness. Again, that's from the OED. Now it doesn't mean just any kind of mercy or compassion or clemency, but it specifically means tenderness and concern aroused by the suffering, distress, or misfortune of another, and prompting a desire for its relief. Compassion, sympathy.
Right.
Or as Marilyn says, oh, you poor thing.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. So Bilbo's pity then for Gollum was that earlier sense, clemency or mercy. One might even say leniency.
Mm-hmm.
Even though Gollum has done him wrong, Bilbo shows him mercy and doesn't kill him. It's not really as much desire for the relief of his suffering as it is forgiveness on account of how wretched Gollum is.
Yeah, I think that's a fair interpretation. Now, on the other hand, in the section we covered in our last episode, we didn't actually read this passage because we couldn't read the whole thing.
No.
But in that section that we covered last time, we see Éowyn look upon Théoden with cool pity in her eyes.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's clearly not clemency or leniency.
Well, no.
Théoden hasn't wronged her, at least not in any tangible sense. Éowyn's pity in that section is more the modern sense. It's concern for his misfortune. It's a desire for his suffering to be relieved.
Right.
Now, Marilyn also asked about how Gandalf learned pity and patience from Nienna. We get that in the Silmarillion. And she wondered what sense was meant there. I don't know what your thoughts are on this, Alan. I think it might be a little bit of both. I mean, I certainly feel like we see Gandalf show compassion and concern for the suffering, which is sense too.
Uh-huh.
But he also shows mercy and clemency, doesn't he?
And I think the patience hints at that. You don't need patience to have compassion and concern for the suffering, but you do need to have patience, I think, to show mercy, to show that clemency. I think you need to have that patience in order to be there. So, yeah.
Yeah, because otherwise, you react rashly to things.
Right.
You might make decisions that you haven't really thought through. You might hurt someone that you don't mean to hurt. And Gandalf does not do that. Yeah, absolutely right.
So, yeah, I think you're right. It makes sense that a little bit of each,
a little bit of
those
both,
two senses.
Yeah.
Yeah. And of course, they're not mutually exclusive either, really. I mean, Bilbo's clemency, sense one, right, mercy with Gollum, was partly based on compassion for his suffering, which is that sense two, isn't it?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
And so, I think, again, Tolkien, knowing so much about the meanings of words, I think he probably was quite aware of the different shades of meaning, even though I don't think these are things that I've ever even really thought of before now. Just how one kind of pity is slightly different from another.
Well, it's true.
And yet, I think Tolkien does seem to be keenly aware of that. And we will see in this episode, in fact, in my first reading, which is coming in just a moment, we're going to see an exchange between Théoden and Wormtongue that includes the word pity twice.
Yeah.
And I don't think they're using it in exactly the same way. So I think we should talk about that when we get there. And
I agree.
I suppose that's probably as good a point as any to go ahead and jump right in.
I think it is. So fire away.
All right. At that moment, Hama came again from the hall. Behind him, cringing between two other men, came Gríma the Wormtongue. His face was very white. His eyes blinked in the sunlight. Hama knelt and presented to Théoden a long sword in a scabbard clasped with gold and set with green gems. "Here, lord, is Herogrim, your ancient blade," he said. "It was found in his chest. Loth was he to render up the keys. Many other things are there which men have missed." "You lie," said Wormtongue. "And this sword your master himself gave into my keeping." "And he now requires it of you again," said Théoden. "Does that displease you?" "Assuredly not, lord," said Wormtongue. "I care for you and yours as best I may. But do not weary yourself, or tax too heavily your strength. Let others deal with these irksome guests. Your meat is about to be set on the board. Will you not go to it?" "I will," said Théoden, "and let food for my guests be set on the board beside me. The host rides today. Send the heralds forth. Let them summon all who dwell nigh, every man and strong lad able to bear arms, all who have horses. Let them be ready in the saddle at the gate, ere the second hour from noon." "Dear lord," cried Wormtongue, "it is as I feared. This wizard has bewitched you. Are none to be left to defend the golden hall of your fathers and all your treasure? None to guard the lord of the mark?" "If this is bewitchment," said Théoden, "it seems to me more wholesome than your whisperings. Your leechcraft ere long would have had me walking on all fours like a beast. No, not one shall be left, not even Gríma. Gríma shall ride too. Go. You have yet time to clean the rust from your sword." "Mercy, lord," whined Wormtongue, grovelling on the ground. "Have pity on one worn out in your service. Send me not from your side. I at least will stand by you when all others have gone. Do not send your faithful Gríma away." "You have my pity," said Théoden. and I do not send you from my side. I go myself to war with my men. I bid you come with me and prove your faith.
Wow. I don't think that's quite what Wormtongue had in mind.
At this point, Wormtongue is like, oh, but what about my flat feet?
That's right. That's right. I got bad arches, man.
Y'all don't know. I'm a bedwetter.
Oh, he would pull that out, wouldn't he?
He would. Like every draft dodge
Oh, everything.
idea in the book.
Yeah. So he's hauled out, by the way. He's not really walking out on his own accord, is he?
This is not a stroll. He's
like
dragged
blinking
out
in the sun. I'm thinking of the Slee Stacks from Land of the Lost. You know? I mean, he's just not the outdoorsy type. The sun is not his friend.
No,
not
at all.
But then Hama, he gives Théoden his sword, Herogrim.
Yes. Rapid fire word nerdery time. You know, we're getting a lot of that in all these episodes.
Oh, we always are, yeah.
The name of Théoden's sword comes from Old English Herugrim, meaning very fierce or cruel, savage. Though Heru simply means sword, so the literal translation is sword grim.
I like that. I like that a lot, actually. That's a great name for a sword.
I like it, yeah.
Now, Hama calls it your ancient blade, but we don't really have any clue as to its age.
I know, that's too bad.
Yeah, I know. I mean, ancient. Presumably, that means it is at least older than Théoden, because you wouldn't want to call your lord ancient.
Certainly, yeah.
But yeah, we don't really have any clue. We have to wonder, though, could it maybe even predate the coming of the Eotheot to what was then Calenarthon?
It could. There's no reason to believe it's not. I mean, there's no reason to believe that it is, but yeah, it could be.
That would be pretty cool if it was. I mean, we know that some things go back that far. Later on, we'll see Éomer give a silver horn to Mary, and that dates from that period, doesn't it?
Right.
So,
and we know that's going back about 500 years, which I think is old enough for these guys to consider it ancient.
Certainly. I mean, Legolas wouldn't call that ancient.
Legolas is going to roll his eyes, yeah.
Oh, that was just last week, yeah.
Right, yeah.
I know, seriously. Yeah, I think that's possible. Pretty neat if it is.
Yeah.
I wonder how many kings have had this sword.
I know. I wonder.
Yeah. Pretty neat.
Too bad we don't know. I know. We can only guess.
Mm-hmm.
But Hama says, that Wormtongue had it, right?
Uh-huh.
But he also alleges that Wormtongue is in possession of some other things that have been stolen,
Yeah, exactly.
There's some other things there that people have been looking for.
That's right. And of course, just get used to this, by the way. Wormtongue claims somebody else is lying.
I'm shocked.
It's just what he does.
I'm just absolutely shocked.
Stunned, I tell you. Stunned.
Yeah.
Wormtongue continues his manipulative attempts, by the way. He come to dinner, don't tax your strength,
Oh, yeah. It's back to that, you're so old, you need me to take care of you stuff.
That's right.
By the way, he says your meat is about to be set on the board.
Right.
The reference to Théoden's meat does not mean Théoden's gone keto.
Oh.
I know you'd love that. In Old English and Middle English, meat, or mete, meant any food, not just animal flesh.
Oh, okay. So I'm picturing one of those 3 meat plates, right? I mean, he's got some brisket,
he's got maybe some pulled pork and some ribs.
Yeah, maybe some barbecue chicken as well. And that's just it, right? Maybe a roll to sop up the juices, and that's it.
Rohirric maybe not that far off the mark, honestly.
No, might not be. Yeah.
But not necessarily, because it could just be any food.
No, but I do like the idea of eating all keto. That's awesome.
But yeah, Théoden takes him up on the offer, like, oh yeah, I do need some food.
Yeah,
but,
I am hungry. Great.
Gandalf and his friends need some food too. We get another of these great host and guest moments that we talked about last time.
A moment I'm sure Wormtongue is not too pleased about, but yeah.
No, not at all. And also Théoden says, send out the heralds. Every man who's able to bear arms and ride needs to be here 2 p.m., second hour from noon.
Yeah, that's pretty short notice, I think. I mean, we've talked about this. We know that this is, what did Scheme tell us? That this conversation was something like 10 in the morning?
Yeah.
So
this is just a couple of hours.
This is not very far away.
Yeah.
But again, manipulating, Wormtongue tries to get Théoden to consider leaving a force in defense, which seems like a wise idea, but isn't the point here, is it?
No. His point is he's actually trying to make sure that the army that is going to go to attack Saruman is smaller.
Right. As small as possible. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Absolutely. Théoden, this comment about bewitchment, Wormtongue says that Gandalf has bewitched you, and Théoden's like, look, man, if this is bewitchment,
I'm all for it.
I'm all for it.
Yeah.
If this is wrong, I don't want to be right, because this feels more wholesome than your whisperings, your leechcraft.
Yeah.
As Hammond and Skull point out, leechcraft is an archaic reference to the art of healing, but Théoden's using it ironically here,
Oh,
obviously.
yeah, absolutely.
And as Hammond and Skull point out, Wormtongue's aim was not to heal, but to disable.
Yeah.
Yeah, quite.
Absolutely. In fact, he goes right past that and then not so subtly reminds Gríma, hey, guess what? You're able to bear a sword and ride a horse, so off you go, lad.
Yeah,
Go
right.
do it. And Gríma still not getting it, right? Oh, well, sure, but I would rather, be by your side because, you're going to be here.
Oh, yeah, this is a wonderful little back and forth between Théoden and Gríma,
It really is. Yeah. There's a lot of strategy in Gríma's words at each phrase. Yeah.
Basically saying anything he can say to be allowed to stay at Edoras.
He's being quite the worm here, isn't he? He is squirming.
He's totally being the worm. Yeah. And so Théoden is like, okay, no, I'm going to give you your chance. Come with me and prove your faith because I'm actually going.
Yeah.
And then we get back to that discussion of pity, like we were talking about at the top of the episode.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you're right. There's one of those appearances. You have my pity after Gríma says, don't send your faithful Gríma away.
Yeah, exactly. Wormtongue asks for pity.
Yeah.
And Théoden says, you have my pity. But I think they're using this two different ways. What do you think?
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. Let's look at Wormtongue's use of it, right? He says, have pity on one worn out in your service, right?
Yeah.
Don't make me go clean the rust from my sword. Please take pity on me and don't send me from your side because you're going to be staying here.
That's like sense one, right? That's mercy or clemency, right? That's,
He is. He's asking to be let out from this obligation of having to fight.
Yeah. What kind of pity does Théoden have? I mean, is Théoden showing him mercy or clemency, or is he just...
No, because he's going to say, you're coming with me. He's showing him a little compassion. Like, I do feel sorry for you.
I feel sorry. It's, oh, you poor thing. You're pathetic. It may not be quite as kind as Marilyn's "Oh, you poor thing." It's more like "You pathetic worm."
This is more like "Oh, bless your heart."
Right, exactly. It's very kind of condescending and even contemptuous, really.
I think it's a false pity. I mean, I don't think Théoden really does feel sorry for him here.
No, I agree.
He's fully playing the same game. He knows that Wormtongue's playing a game, and now he's playing it too.
Then again, I mean, as we're saying this, I'm wondering, is he showing a kind of mercy by allowing Gríma a chance to redeem himself? Grab your sword. Come ride with me.
Yeah, I mean, not so much clemency. I think he's giving him a chance at redemption, like he himself has just had, right?
Yeah, maybe it's not clemency. He's not going to withhold the punishment that's due Wormtongue.
Or in this case, he's not going to prevent him from fulfilling that obligation, right? He is obliged, as is every man who's able to carry a sword.
Yeah, you're not getting any special treatment. You're not getting pardoned.
You still have to do this thing that every other man's going to have to do, right?
Yeah. Again, you see this word twice, pity, and you think it seems like the same thing, but no, I don't think it is.
It really is not the same thing. And then that's the exact moment I'm going to pick up. This is where the worm squirms right here. Wormtongue looked from face to face. In his eyes was the hunted look of a beast seeking some gap in the ring of his enemies. He licked his lips with a long, pale tongue.
Such a resolve might be expected from a lord of the house of Eorl, old though he be, he said. But those who truly love him would spare his failing years. Yet I see that I come too late. Others, whom the death of my lord would perhaps grieve less, have already persuaded him. If I cannot undo their work, hear me at least in this, Lord. One who knows your mind and honors your commands should be left in Edoras. Appoint a faithful steward. Let your counsellor Gríma keep all things till your return. And I pray that we may see it, though no wise man will deem it hopeful.
Éomer laughed. And if that plea does not excuse you from war, most noble Wormtongue, he said, what office of less honor would you accept? To carry a sack of meal up into the mountains, if any man would trust you with it? Nay, Éomer, you do not fully understand the mind of Master Wormtongue, said Gandalf, turning his piercing glance upon him. He is bold and cunning. Even now he plays a game with peril and wins a throw. Hours of my precious time he has wasted already. Down, snake! He said suddenly in a terrible voice. Down on your belly! How long is it since Saruman bought you? What was the promised price? When all the men were dead, you were to pick your share of the treasure and take the woman you desire? Too long have you watched her under your eyelids and haunted her steps. Éomer grasped his sword. That I knew already, he muttered. For that reason I would have slain him before, forgetting the law of the hall. Yeah, we're just going to unleash Éomer on you, and we don't need to do anything else.
Honestly, unleash Éowyn on him. Now
Seriously.
that she knows this. I think she'd make short work of him.
She'd make very short work of him, and it would be humiliating for him. Wonderfully humiliating.
Yeah. So Wormtongue, having it revealed to him that, nope, I'm going, you're going with me. He's not happy with this, let's call it an unforeseen development in his plan.
Yeah.
Eyes are darting to and fro. He first tries to persuade a little bit, kind of weakly persuade Théoden, hey, you really shouldn't go. These people just want you to die. They're not going to care if something bad happens to you. I care.
Yeah, exactly. I care. I don't want you to die, but these people, they would benefit from your death. And you're right. He's not really taking the angle of persuasion. He's more like manipulating, because he concedes the decision's been made and decides, well, now you just need to leave a reliable person, quote unquote,
right,
to run things in Edoras until you return, even though you're not likely to return.
Right. And at this point, his game is pretty clear. I think it's got to be clear to people that he just wants to get out of the fight. Yeah. And
I've got flat feet. I've got, a bedwetter. Right. Anything.
Right. Exactly. Shin splints and everything. He's just making stuff up.
Right.
And Éomer is kind of playing along here, thinking that that's the only thing that's going on. He's like, all right, look, okay, if that doesn't work, what other tack are you going to try and take, to get out of fighting? Because he thinks that's the only thing that Wormtongue is about here.
Right.
But Gandalf sees through this. He actually gets that the truth is actually much worse. This is more than just Wormtongue trying to dodge the draft.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, this down snake down on your belly line, he knows this is Gríma wasting his time. Gríma has delayed the attack that the Rohirric must make on Isengard. And he's been doing it effectively, and Gandalf is just done with it. That's why he does this. We're done with this conversation. Down snake, down on your belly, which I have to say, it just reminds me a little bit of a biblical passage, Genesis 3:14. This is after Satan, after the serpent has lied to Eve. There's a passage that says, so the Lord God said to the serpent, the worm, because you have done this, you will crawl on your belly and you will eat dust all the days of your life. So it kind of just has that little bit of a hint.
Yeah. Well, we talked about this last time, didn't we? The idea that he's this deceiver, right? And there are these references to the serpent.
Yeah, I think there's the tie-in connection there with the serpent is clear. Yeah.
Yeah, very much so. And then Gandalf, he reveals to everybody what game Gríma's actually playing. He says, look, we know that you've been bought by Saruman. For what? For treasure, your share of the treasure, but more than that, also for Éowyn, the woman you desire.
Oh, man. Just gross. Sorry. Just
totally
disgusting.
Gross. Totally gross. Yeah.
Yeah. Éomer is ready to kill him just for that. I mean, Éomer knows, and he's been tempted to kill him all along, like going, I know I'm not supposed to kill him in the hall. That's the law. But man, I've been wanting to.
I've been wanting to.
Yeah, and I'm about to. So let me just get my sword and take care of business.
I'm going to take care of this right now.
I mean, we're done. He's not going to do any useful fighting anyway. We all know that.
And I would love to see that, because I would love to see the point at which Éowyn takes her brother's sword and says, wait.
Yeah, let me do this.
I got this.
Yeah, I got this. And I'm not going to start by slicing his throat either. I've got a few other places I want to cut first.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Man.
I've got a few targets picked out.
Yeah. Oh, man. And she'd be justified for doing it, too.
Totally.
So, Gandalf holds him back. We've got other things to do right now. Éowyn is safe, he says, and that's where I'm going to have you pick up.
All right. But you, Wormtongue, you have done what you could for your true master. Some reward you have earned at least. Yet Saruman is apt to overlook his bargains. I should advise you to go quickly and remind him, lest he forget your faithful service. You lie, said Wormtongue. That word comes too oft and easy from your lips, said Gandalf. I do not lie. See, Théoden, here is a snake. With safety you cannot take it with you, nor can you leave it behind. To slay it would be just. But it was not always as it now is. Once it was a man, and did you service in its fashion. Give him a horse, and let him go at once wherever he chooses. By his choice you shall judge him. Do you hear this, Wormtongue? Said Théoden. This is your choice. To ride with me to war, and let us see in battle whether you are true, or to go now whither you will. But then, if ever we meet again, I shall not be merciful." Slowly, Wormtongue rose. He looked at them with half-closed eyes. Last of all, he scanned Théoden's face and opened his mouth as if to speak. Then suddenly he drew himself up. His hands worked. His eyes glittered. Such malice was in them that men stepped back from him. He bared his teeth, and then, with a hissing breath, he spat before the king's feet, and darting to one side, he fled down the stair.
Oh, man.
Yeah,
All right. There is, as we always say, a lot there.
quite.
We're going to start back at the beginning there. Gandalf advises Wormtongue. He gives him a little suggestion. Let me give you a little bit of wisdom here. Go to Saruman for your reward, and quickly, because he tends to forget these
He
things.
tends to forget these things. Wormtongue, of course, claims this is a lie, which Gandalf points out is an accusation Wormtongue throws around a lot.
You keep on using this word. I do not think you know what this word means.
And do you know what it made me think of?
No.
It made me think of the idea that we saw back in chapter 2 of this book, where, Éomer said that Rohirrim don't lie,
Mhm.
and so they're not easily deceived. I wonder if this is a corollary to
Oh.
that. If
Yeah.
if most Rohirrim don't lie, and so they're not easily deceived, does that mean that liars assume everyone else is a liar?
I think that's fair. Yeah.
I mean, that certainly seems to be, regardless of whether there's a connection between these two things or not, and I'm not saying there's an intentional connection, but there's definitely some truth to the fact that Wormtongue assumes everyone else is lying because that's how he deals with the
That's
world.
how he operates, right? Everything he does is couched in lies. It's
Absolutely.
manipulative.
So-
and yeah,
Of course, if you're a liar, you assume everyone else is a liar too.
of course you do. That's a good point. So Gandalf goes from there and says, look, it would be just to kill him now. Actually, he says it, which is interesting.
Oh, that is really, really
He
interesting.
dehumanizes him right here.
Yes.
And
Yeah, he does.
it's called for, it's appropriate, but it's a really drastic shift. You don't see Gandalf doing this sort of thing in any other situation. And he calls him that again by reminding Théoden that it was a man once. It is no longer a man. It was a man, which is just, I mean,
But then you notice, you're absolutely right about all of that, but then notice that he humanizes him again at the end. Yeah, I mean, he says once it was a man,
yeah,
and you're right, he's not anymore. But
right.
okay, I'm going to refer to him as a man again. I'm going to say, give him a horse. Let him go
Yeah,
wherever
you're
he
right.
chooses.
Instead of giving it a horse. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's giving him a chance to be a man again. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's exactly why he puts it that way. Yep.
Yeah.
So Théoden puts the choice to Wormtongue.
Mhm.
Okay, one more chance. Ride to war with me or go wherever else you want to go. But this is your one chance at mercy. If I meet you again, I am not going to be merciful.
Yeah. If you're on the battlefield, no, we're done.
Yeah.
And this is, once again, mercy winning out over justice. It's a theme that we're going to see a few times, most notably, of course, near the very end when Frodo shows mercy over justice with both Saruman and Wormtongue. So I think that's really an interesting little thing that we'll see come back. And, of course, we saw this with Gandalf explaining to Frodo the necessity of pity, like you talked about in the intro segment,
Mhm.
and of mercy when it related to Gollum in The Shadow of the Past.
Now, I love that you brought that in because Frodo says that about what a pity that Bilbo didn't kill Gollum when he had a chance. And then, Gandalf has the great line about it was pity that stayed his hand. And then he
Yes.
says, many that live deserve death and some that die deserved life. Going on, do not be too eager to deal out death in judgment.
Right.
In the case of Gollum, Gandalf is very clear that mercy should win out over justice
Yeah.
because killing him really wouldn't be justice.
Right.
But in this case, with the case of Wormtongue, Gandalf tells Théoden,
Flat out.
no, it would be fine to kill him. You should
Yeah.
totally kill him.
Totally just.
Yeah. So that's interesting. Gandalf doesn't advise mercy in all cases. There are some times where Gandalf will say that it's just to kill someone. I
Mhm.
think that's interesting.
I think that is interesting.
I mean, granted, Wormtongue has done some horrible things, but then again, so has Gollum. And I wonder if it's because Gandalf senses that Gollum has some part to play, whereas Wormtongue,
Mm-hmm.
Wormtongue
And
has
that
a part to play
Wormtongue has
too,
a part to
doesn't
play too, doesn't
he?
he?
He does, yeah. So it's very interesting that there's a sort of a difference in Gandalf's willingness to judge these two.
Yeah. Oh, you make a very good point. That is an interesting distinction. Yeah.
I don't know what to make of it. I don't know
I don't
why
either.
Gollum deserves pity more than Wormtongue.
The only thing I can think of is that Wormtongue does the one thing that makes him even more evil. It's betrayal, right? I mean, that's, if you think back to Dante, isn't the ninth circle traitors?
Yeah, the ninth circle is the circle of the traitors. That's absolutely right.
And I think that's the thing that we're dealing with here is
Treason.
Gollum's done some terrible things. He's been a murderer and a thief.
Yeah.
But he hasn't been a betrayer. He hasn't been a traitor.
Not at that point.
No, you're right.
He becomes a traitor later.
He does. You're absolutely right. He does.
And he dies not long after. So
no, fair. That's a very good point.
Really interesting. Wow.
Yeah, that is.
Well, back to this text, since we'll get to Gollum in a few years.
Yeah, we will.
So, yeah, going back to Wormtongue, Wormtongue mulls over this choice that he's got.
Yeah. Not much of a choice. Yeah.
I noticed the half-closed eyes, and I remember the last section, we saw that he had heavy eyelids, right?
Yes. Uh-huh.
It's such an interesting physical trait to point out a couple of times.
Oh, it is.
That he's got these heavy eyelids or half-closed eyes.
I think, though, maybe there's more something with this, looking from face to face, the hunted look of a beast, licking his lips before speaking again. There's this shiftiness to the way he looks.
Yes, that is absolutely true. Yeah.
And he can't maintain a lot of eye contact, which kind of maybe goes along with that whole idea of the heavy eyelids.
Maybe so.
He's always kind of looking askance.
He's always kind of looking down, he doesn't want to look people in the eyes.
He's got his head down, his eyes half closed, and he's kind of looking up.
That could be.
Sort of so that you don't get a good look in his eyes.
Yeah, that could be. I'll buy that.
Yeah. That makes sense. I could go there too.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, so anyway, back to the text, because we digressed a fair bit. But yeah, so Wormtongue is thinking about this choice. He looks at Théoden, and then, oh man.
Oh, yeah.
Such class. He bares his teeth, he hisses, and he spits before Théoden's feet.
Oh, just charming.
Dude, come on. And then he runs down the stair, just gets out of Dodge.
Yeah, I'm out.
And then, this is after the part that I read, but then Théoden orders, nobody harm him.
Right.
Don't allow him to harm anybody, but don't harm him.
Mm-hmm.
And give him a horse.
Yeah. Well, Éomer's point, though, is that there might not be a horse that's willing. He's probably right.
It's a nice zinger.
Yeah. We'll find out a little bit about that later, by the way.
Yeah. And then one of the guards comes up and cleans the stones that he's defiled.
Yeah. Yeah. This is an important spot, right? This is right outside of Meduseld. This is a really important place. And Wormtongue has defiled them. Yeah. So, folks, wash your defiled stones clean and join us at our inaugural PPP moot. But Tui.
I don't even know what to say.
I don't know what to say about that either. That mood is going to be here before you know it, folks, in just 3 weeks. It's going to run from May 14th to 16th. And you're going to want to visit our website, theprancingponypodcast.com, for more information and to register.
Yeah, we are so excited about it, and we can't wait for you all to join us.
Yeah.
One of our keynote speakers is going to be Dr. Amy Sturgis. Now, she's taught courses on everything from Tolkien and Harry Potter to Star Wars and Star Trek. And she's just a fantastic speaker. We saw her at MythMoot last year, and it's going to be great having her.
Oh, it absolutely will. And our other keynote speaker is Dr. Michael Drought, who was a guest with us here on the PPP all the way back in episode 66.
Yep.
He edited the J.R.R. Tolkien Encyclopedia. He is a co-editor for the journal Tolkien Studies. He's been involved with Lotro and just a ton more. We are thrilled to have him join us as well.
Yeah. Now, the theme for our first PPP Moot is digital recovery. It's all about the many ways we find fairy online and regain a clear view from virtual communities and online fandom. We've got a full slate of presentations for you. We've got a lot of fun social events as well. There's going to be a pub quiz. We're going to do a live AMA-style episode recording with
Which
me and
we'll
Alan.
regret. Yeah.
Which we will probably regret.
You all might regret that too, actually, now that
It's all going to depend on the content of the questions. I think people
that's
come
true.
with some good ones in it.
Blame the attendees if you don't like it.
That's right. But you're not going to want to miss it, folks. So please plan on joining us.
Absolutely. Now, our event pages are up and running. They have been for a while. So you can go take a look at the schedule, check out our speakers, and of course, most importantly, register to attend the 3-day event. We have really worked hard to make our moot accessible to as many of our listeners as possible, both in terms of time zones for activities as well as cost. It's only $35 for the whole weekend. So please go to theprancingponypodcast.com and sign up today.
And while you're at our website, why don't you check out the rest of it as well? We have a lot of other good stuff there. We've got show notes, outtakes, Prancing Pony ponderings, and even our online storefront where you can get PPP shirts, mugs, stickers, and more, including Moot merch.
That's right. All sorts of great stuff with our new Moot logo on there. So take a look. Of course, one of the best resources we have on the website is our all-new library. Our web guru, Phil Dean, has worked hard on redesigning the library, and it shows. As you know, we love the books here at the PPP, and we want to make sure you can get your hands on any of the books that we mention here.
Yeah, we may talk about a lot of Tolkien-related stuff on the podcast, but folks, at heart, Alan and I are fans of Tolkien's books and books about Tolkien. That's why we have the library page on our website with links to every book we've mentioned on the show.
Now, we do make a few pennies from the purchases you make from those links, so thank you for your support. And folks, if you listened to our Tolkien Reading Day episode a few weeks ago, you heard a very special immersive audio version of our last reading.
That's right. Our producer, Jordan Rennells, put that together for us using sound effects, music, ambience layers, and 3D immersive audio software.
And Jordan has created other scenes like that one in his own podcast, Music of Middle-earth. You can hear Fog on the Barrow Downs, the coming of Tuor to Ulmo, and the attack on the Fellowship as they journey up Caradhras.
Now, Jordan and one of our patrons whose name you've likely heard a few times, Chad in Texas, have been working on a very special, fully immersive version of the Council of Elrond chapter in its entirety.
Now, it'll be a complete audio play with different actors and actresses for each of the characters, music, sound effects, and more.
Now, if you have signed up for our PPP Digital Moot next month, you'll get to hear a big segment of it there. But to hear it in its entirety when it's released, as well as other soundscape readings like it, you're definitely going to want to check out Music of Middle-earth on your favorite podcast app.
And of course, if you haven't signed up for the PPP Digital Moot, what are you waiting for?
All right. Well, with Wormtongue gone, we are going to get back to that eating thing.
Yeah, it's time to have a party now the Wormtongue's gone.
That's right.
All right.
Let's have some meat, guys.
Yeah. Barbecue, a little brisket, little pulled pork, whole 9 yards.
That's right.
At the king's board sat Éomer and the 4 guests, and there also waiting upon the king was the lady Éowyn. They ate and drank swiftly. The others were silent, while Théoden questioned Gandalf concerning Saruman. "How far back his treachery goes, who can guess?" said Gandalf. "He was not always evil. Once I do not doubt that he was the friend of Rohan, and even when his heart grew colder, he found you useful still. But for long now, he has plotted your ruin, wearing the mask of friendship until he was ready. In those years, Wormtongue's task was easy, and all that you did was swiftly known in Isengard, for your land was open, and strangers came and went. And ever Wormtongue's whispering was in your ears, poisoning your thought, chilling your heart, weakening your limbs, while others watched and could do nothing, for your will was in his keeping. But when I escaped and warned you, then the mask was torn for those who would see. After that, Wormtongue played dangerously, always seeking to delay you, to prevent your full strength being gathered. He was crafty, dulling men's wariness, or working on their fears, as served the occasion. Do you not remember how eagerly he urged that no man should be spared on a wild goose chase northward, when the immediate peril was westward? He persuaded you to forbid Éomer to pursue the raiding orcs. If Éomer had not defied Wormtongue's voice, speaking with your mouth, those orcs would have reached Isengard by now, bearing a great prize. Not indeed that prize which Saruman desires above all else, but at the least 2 members of my company, sharers of a secret hope, of which even to you, Lord, I cannot yet speak openly."
Well, we talked about that last time, didn't we?
We did, and we'll talk about it again.
We will, but first let's go back to the meal.
Yeah.
The barbecue. We don't know that it's barbecue.
I'm sure it is. There's ribs.
Probably some vegetables in there. I mean...
Well, sure. Potatoes.
Yeah, it's not all meat.
I know. Technically a vegetable, we don't really count that, no.
Right.
Yeah, there's some greens, I'm sure there are. Yeah, of course there are.
Yeah, exactly. So, a meal in Meduseld, the mead hall.
Yeah.
While the army assembles outside.
Well, yeah.
Suppose they're packing box lunches. I don't know.
Well, short notice. Honey, throw something together, put it in my backpack. I got to go to war.
Right.
Yeah.
We don't have anything, honey. Well, find something.
Please, just anything. Spam sandwich, anything.
Some baby carrots. It's a handful
Seriously.
of peanuts. Come on, just
I
something.
don't care. Trail mix.
Right.
No tofu, though, please. So they're, of course, all outside, getting together and assembling that army. And then inside Meduseld, at the king's table, we have the king, we have Éomer, and then we have Gandalf, Aragorn, Legolas, and Gimli, with Éowyn waiting on them.
Or waiting on the king, at least.
Well, yeah, that's true. That's fair. So at that point, though, Théoden and Gandalf are discussing Saruman.
Yeah. And Gandalf, this is a great little bit of info dump here. And I say that in the best way possible. I mean, Gandalf starts by pointing out that Saruman wasn't always evil. He was once genuinely a friend to Rohan. And we kind of see this sort of slow decline, don't we, from friendship to manipulation to hate. And we see this in the history, too. In a note at the very end of the section in Unfinished Tales on the Battles of the Fords of Isen, we read that the Dunlendings had taken over Isengard sometime around 2700, and that it was nearly 60 years later before they were dislodged after famine. As a result, the text tells us, it can thus be readily understood that when Saruman offered to take command of Isengard and repair it and reorder it as part of the defenses of the West, he was welcomed both by King Freolaf and by Beren the Steward. So when Saruman took up his abode in Isengard and Beren gave to him the keys of Orthanc, the Rohirrim returned to their policy of guarding the Fords of Isen as the most vulnerable point in their western frontier.
Right. Now, the text continues, there can be little doubt that Saruman made his offer in good faith, or at least with goodwill toward the defense of the West, so long as he himself remained the chief person in that defense and the head of its council. He was wise and perceived clearly that Isengard, with its position and its great strength, natural and by craft, was of utmost importance. The line of the Isen, between the Pinchers of Isengard and the Hornburg, was a bulwark against invasion from the east, whether incited and guided by Sauron or otherwise, either aiming at encircling Gondor or at invading Eriador. But in the end, he turned to evil and became an enemy. And yet the Rohirrim, though they had warnings of his growing malice towards them, continued to put their main strength in the west at the fords, until Saruman in open war showed them that the fords were small protection without Isengard, and still less against it. Yeah.
So, yeah, he did start out probably being their friend, maybe a little bit manipulative. He's like, he's kind of advancing himself through this, right? He was...
Yeah. They're a useful ally, if nothing else.
Right, exactly. He wanted to legitimately defend it as long as he could be in a position of power there. But yeah, eventually it did just turn to evil. So then Gandalf goes on explaining, how easy Wormtongue's job was prior to Gandalf himself escaping from Orthanc, right?
Right.
But then, once he did escape, the mask was torn, and then Wormtongue kind of played dangerously. And Gandalf talks about the impact that he's had, and it's been horrible.
Oh, it has been absolutely horrible. But after that escape, right, the game, as you said, became really dangerous. Wormtongue was now seeking to delay. Like you said, the mask was torn. And he looks back at Wormtongue's counsel and points this out to the king. Look, he told you not to go north. He told you that the threat was over there. He told them, forbid Éomer from pursuing the orcs. But in that Spabimi moment, the fact that Éomer defied that order is what, in fact, saved Merry and Pippin.
Yeah, that's right. And we mentioned this section last episode when Gandalf says here that those two hobbits are sharers of a secret hope, of which even to you, Lord, I cannot yet speak openly.
Yeah.
It still begs the question, what exactly did Gandalf tell him?
I know. I want to know. I want to be a part of that conversation.
But maybe he told them everything except for the stuff about the ring. I don't know.
Maybe.
But I think you're absolutely right. And I think it's worth reminding ourselves that Éomer not following orders saved the fellowship, saved the quest.
Saved the quest. Absolutely, it saved the quest. No doubt about it.
Yeah. Saved Merry and Pippin. I mean, if Merry and Pippin had been caught, who knows what they would have revealed.
They would have sang like canaries. Yeah.
Yep.
No doubt about it.
Like, you say that like a 40s gangster or something.
Right. That was kind of the point.
You would have sang like a canary. See,
we're gonna make them sing. See, we're gonna make them talk. Then we get these really cool back and forth proverbs. Not in the part I read, but right after.
Yeah.
Faithful heart may have froward tongue.
Yeah.
And then crooked eyes, truth may wear a wry face. I love these two.
I did a double take on that first one. Faithful heart may have froward tongue.
Froward tongue, right?
Yeah.
It's not forward, though. I think
Right.
there were a few years, I should say, where that wasn't the case.
That's
right?
correct. Hammond and Skull point that out. For 10 years, from 1994 to 2004, editions said forward instead, which doesn't make any sense. Faithful heart may have forward tongue. Actually, froward means contrary or perverse.
Right. Difficult to deal with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A faithful heart, as in Éomer's, can tell you things you don't want to hear.
Right.
I'm reminded of Olwe and Feanor.
Ooh, that's a really good callback, isn't it?
Well, thank you.
Well, Théoden acknowledges that he was nearly blinded to all these things, but it's Gandalf who's brought his sight back again, really.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And that's where I'm going to have you pick up with the gift of
All right.
Shadowfax. Oh, yes.
I would give you a gift ere we go, at your own choosing. You have only to name aught that is mine. I reserve now only my sword. Whether I came in time or not is yet to be seen, said Gandalf. But as for your gift, Lord, I will choose one that will fit my need, swift and sure. Give me Shadowfax. He was only lent before, if loan we may call it. Théoden's like, I'm not sure we may call it loan, but okay, go on. But now I shall ride him into great hazard, setting silver against black. I would not risk anything that is not my own. And already there is a bond of love between us. You choose well, said Théoden, and I give him now gladly. Yet it is a great gift. There is none like to Shadowfax. In him one of the mighty steeds of old has returned. None such shall return again.
That is true. None such shall return.
All right.
So Théoden offers Gandalf a gift. He says, you can take anything you want, except for Harrogrim. And that seems like a typical pattern of a royal gift, right? Name anything that's mine to give. I reserve only X, right?
Yeah, where X could be something like, up to half my kingdom.
Right.
I mean, not that
that's part of the formula.
Well, that's just it. Nobody would ever ask for an extravagant gift. It's that generosity of the offer that humbles the recipient. And so that is part of the formula. People would say, oh, wow, this is such a generous offer. I'm going to be polite.
It's a kingly gift, quite literally.
Yes, exactly. Nicely done. It is. And you're going to respect that.
Yeah. You're not going to say, you know what? I like half your kingdom. I'll take the west half. I mean, come on. Nobody would do that.
You know what? Wormtongue wanted Éowyn. I'll take Éowyn. Can I have Éowyn?
There you go. Can you give me Éowyn? Oh, goodness.
No, it's horrible.
But yeah, in this case, anything but Harrogrim. So sure, I'll take the entire Westfold, please. No, he's not going to do that. But he does ask for quite a gift, right? He may still be unsure about having come in time, right? I mean, he's like, those are nice words, Théoden, but we'll see about that. But he is certain about the gift.
Yes.
Shadowfax.
That's right. And I love his reasoning behind this. He doesn't want to ride a horse to war that isn't his, that belongs to someone else.
Right. It's one thing to rent a car to drive on vacation. It's another thing to rent a car and track it.
Right.
And race it on that.
Yeah, exactly.
You're not going to do that.
No.
Well, you shouldn't.
I mean, you might,
be clear.
Somebody
might, yeah.
But you shouldn't. Yeah, he wants the horse to be his if he's going to ride it into war. That makes sense. He doesn't want to risk damage to someone else's horse.
No, of course not.
Damage is such a cold word. I'm sorry.
Boy, you're not kidding. That is sort of a clinical term.
I'm so sorry.
Damage.
But you know what?
How many hit points does Shadowfax have?
Or like, the lost damage waiver on the horse.
The lost damage waiver. Well, we got a dent on Shadowfax, but it's not bigger than a golf ball, so you're okay.
Right, exactly. Oh, that's terrible.
Oh, that is terrible. That'll buff out.
Right.
Oh, man.
As if to remind everyone that Shadowfax is not just a rented Hyundai Sonata. He mentions the love between them.
Well, right, which you don't see between cars and people.
Right.
Except for me and my car, maybe. I mean, it loves me. I'm pretty sure.
Right, sure. But no, he's like, no, we love each other already, and let's just make Shadowfax mine officially. That's all I want.
Yeah. And we've seen that love, right? I think back to the episode, or the chapter, I should say, last chapter, where, he calls Shadowfax, and Shadowfax comes up and kind of nuzzles his face right up against Gandalf. It's a sweet moment. There's clearly a tenderness already there. It's great.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Théoden acknowledges, well, you chose wisely, I'm reminded of that moment in Indiana Jones, the third one, right? You have chosen wisely.
Yes, exactly.
But he also points out that's a pretty big gift. You're kind of pushing the limits of that whole royal kingly gift idea. Because Shadowfax isn't just a horse, and he's not even just one of the Miras. He's unique beyond even that, isn't he?
Yeah, none such shall return again, he says. I mean, he is a true one of a kind.
Absolutely. None such.
None such. None more horse.
None more.
It's like, how much more horse can he be? And the answer is none. None more horse.
None more horse. That's a great reference, man.
Spinal Tap, man.
Oh, I love it. Yeah.
But then, having agreed to Gandalf's fairly extravagant gift, but hey, not too extravagant, Théoden offers anything that Aragorn, Gimli, and Legolas might need in terms of armor, weapons. Well, they don't need swords, he says, but...
No, clearly you don't need weapons, but, anything in my armory that you would like, you can take it. Yeah. And that's where I'm going to pick up, is what they get. Now men came bearing raiment of war from the king's hoard, and they arrayed Aragorn and Legolas in shining mail. Helms, too, they chose, and round shields. Their bosses were overlaid with gold and set with gems, green and red and white. Gandalf took no armor, and Gimli needed no coat of rings, even if one had been found to match his stature, for there was no hauberk in the hordes of Edoras of better make than his short corselet forged beneath the mountain in the north. But he chose a cap of iron and leather that fitted well upon his round head, and a small shield he also took. It bore the running horse, white upon green, that was the emblem of the house of Eorl. "May it keep you well," said Théoden. "It was made for me in Thengil's day, while still I was a boy." Gimli bowed. "I am proud, Lord of the Mark, to bear your device," he said. "Indeed, sooner would I bear a horse than be borne by one. I love my feet better, but maybe I shall come yet where I can stand and fight." "It may well be so," said Théoden. The king now rose, and at once Éowyn came forward bearing wine. "Fair through Théoden Hal," she said, "receive now this cup, and drink in happy hour. Health be with thee at thy going and coming." Théoden drank from the cup, and she then proffered it to the guests. Proffering.
There's something about that word. I don't know what it is.
I know, I love that word. It's like just a fancy version of offering, right?
There's no distinction, really,
None.
beyond offering. Just proffering is offering.
But proffering is offering, but it's a fancier way of putting it.
Totally. Well,
It's tushery, I tell you.
that is tushery.
No, it's not.
Somebody is going to write to us and tell us there is actually a difference between proffer and offer. And I'm sure there is.
I'm sure there is some subtle difference. I'm sure of that. But it does seem awfully similar. So maybe it's just a formal offering. I don't know.
Well, it's okay. It is to hold out something to someone for acceptance. But it can also just be offer. So
That's what I thought.
maybe
That's what I thought.
it's that pro prefix that, kind of like you're handing something to and you're moving something forward in offering. I don't know.
Okay. So there is a movement involved. It's not like a contract offer.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
There is a movement implied by proffer.
I might proffer the contract for their signature because I'm physically holding the thing out for them to take.
Right.
But the contract's offer itself is just an offer, not a proffer.
Right.
Okay.
Fine. You win out there, silent people who never said anything.
Who now can remain silent. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
So Aragorn and Legolas are given new mail, helm, and shields, and I love the description, the shining mail and the shield bosses overlaid with gold and gems. It's just beautiful.
Yeah. It reminds me a bit about, sort of the whole Anglo-Saxon idea of the ring lord, right? The king's role is to give gold and treasure to his men.
Right.
And that's kind of what he's doing here. I mean, there's a practical purpose here as well. He's not just giving it to them for fealty. He's giving it to them because they need some armor, but there's a subtle thing there. But
there is.
Let's talk a little bit about archaic language again.
Okay.
Because we haven't gotten enough of Mr. Brogan from last time.
No, we haven't.
So this sentence here, helms too they chose. Now, going back to letter number 171, which we did talk about towards the end of last episode, Tolkien uses this bit to make a point. He writes, helms too they chose is archaic. Some wrongly class it as an inversion, since normal order is they also chose helmets, or they chose helmets too. Modern English, they also picked out some helmets and round shields. But this is not normal order, and if modern English has lost the trick of putting a word desired to emphasize for pictorial, emotional, or logical reasons into prominent first place, so much the worse for it. And so much the better for it, the sooner it learns the trick again. And someone must begin the teaching by example.
Oh, man. Have at it, Professor.
Please. I like it. Helms, too, they chose. I love putting the helms first.
I know, because that's the key, right? That's the word he wants to emphasize. You don't want to emphasize they.
Yeah.
They chose, or chose they also helmets.
Right.
Just no. But hey, look, here's the fun part. The teacher is not finished with his lecture to the young Mr. Brogan. He then goes on to say, I am sorry to find you affected by the extraordinary 20th century delusion that its usages per se and simply as contemporary, irrespective of whether they are terser, more vivid, or even nobler, have some peculiar validity above those of all other times, so that not to use them, even when quite unsuitable in tone, is a solecism, a gaffe, a thing at which one's friends shudder or feel hot in the collar. Shake yourself out of this parochialism of time. Also, not to be too donnish, learn to discriminate between the bogus and genuine antique, as you would if you hoped not to be cheated by a dealer. Tell us what you really think, Professor.
Man, can I just stand up and clap for that? I
know. That's good stuff right there.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
Shake yourself out of this parochialism of time.
Brilliant.
There are so many people I want to say that to.
Oh, man.
Today, actually.
Yes. Oh, even more so today. Absolutely.
Yeah. Man.
Oh, that's
awesome.
Just brilliant. You almost wonder if you went back and reread that and went, yeah, this is a draft. I'm not going to send this. Because he didn't send this, right? This is from a letter that was a draft.
This is a little harsh.
Might want to tone this down. This poor, 19-year-old young man who's just already apologized to me for being, what did we say last week?
Oh, man. There were so many
Stupid
things.
Was one of the three things.
A sycophant was another.
A sycophant, yeah. That was great. Great stuff, man. Brilliant.
So, yeah, that's just awesome stuff. And getting back to the text, yes, Helms too, they chose, but Gandalf, nothing chose.
No, of course not.
Nothing Gandalf chose.
Nothing chose Gandalf.
There you go. Nothing chose Gandalf.
Nothing Gandalf chose, actually, because otherwise you're implying that the thing could choose or not choose Gandalf.
That nothing actually chose Gandalf, right? And that just makes me sad. It's like,
I don't want the old man.
He was picked last for kickball or something,
I know. Oh, man, I feel bad now.
No, Gandalf doesn't take anything. He doesn't need anything.
No, of course not.
Gimli doesn't take a coat because, well, first of all, they're all the wrong size.
They become full-length dresses, yeah.
It's a bit tight across the chest. Remember that?
I do. That's right.
But really, the real reason is his stuff is better. He's got dwarven.
Oh, yeah.
Of
course it is. Yeah.
But he does choose a cap and a small shield with the running horse of Rohan on it.
And I love that because it prompts this really lovely little dialogue between Théoden and Gimli, who haven't really had any direct interaction at this point that we've seen.
That's a good point. They haven't.
Théoden's like, that was my shield when I was a boy. And Gimli, I am proud to wear it. Now, granted, I wish I didn't have to ride, right? I mean, It's a nice horse, but I don't want to have to ride on it. I'd rather stand and fight. But I love that little moment. It's neat.
And you may get your chance, Théoden tells him.
Oh, yeah, you probably will.
So, moving on, the king stands. Éowyn brings wine, and she offers, or proffers, Théoden a cup.
Nice.
With a very formal greeting to him, Fairthu Théoden Hal, which means, may you go forth, Théoden, in health. And then she basically repeats that in Westron when she says, health be with thee at thy going and coming.
Right, which I'm assuming she's saying that for the benefit of the guests so that they know what she's saying.
Probably so, for those who are not versed in the Rohirric language, for sure.
Right, which would be those four, yeah. So we have this formal structure, right? Théoden drinks, and then the cup is proffered to the guests. And that's another echo of Beowulf here. I always struggle with the wife of Hrothgar's name is Wealhtheow.
That's right. You got it.
I always struggle with the pronunciation. Want to make sure. In Beowulf, she offers the mead cup to the king first and then to his warriors. So it's another Beowulf tie-in.
That's right. Yep. And then we get Éowyn's not quite moment with Aragorn here again. We talked about last time. The line here was once, long she looked upon Aragorn and long he looked upon her.
That was before Tolkien decided Aragorn was too old and grim for Éowyn.
Which he is.
Well, he is, he's 87.
Yeah.
Actually, he's 88, as Tom Shippey would say.
He is. That's right. He's 88 now.
Yeah.
He's had a birthday.
Remember that in the talk? People doing the math. He's 87.
That's right.
Actually, he's 88.
Yeah, he actually has a birthday. He had a birthday not too long ago, I think.
Yeah, very, very recently at this point, yeah.
In the book, yeah.
I think March 1st, actually, just a few days ago.
That's right.
Yeah. Well, now that we've had that lovely little happy birthday Aragorn moment.
Should we sing to him? No, we're not going to sing to him.
No, we are not going to sing to him. Éowyn would sing to him.
She would.
She would sing to him like Marilyn Monroe sang to John Kennedy.
I was hoping you were not going to say that, but man.
Happy birthday. No, I'm not going to do it. Not going to do it. All right.
It's terrible.
You're going to pick up with Théoden's sort of really Beowulfian moment here, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Behold, I go forth, and it seems like to be my last riding, said Théoden. I have no child. Theodred my son is slain. I name Éomer my sister's son to be my heir. If neither of us return, then choose a new lord as you will. But to someone I must now entrust my people that I leave behind, to rule them in my place. Which of you will stay? No man spoke. Is there none whom you would name? In whom do my people trust? In the house of Eorl, answered Hama. But Éomer I cannot spare, nor would he stay, said the king, and he is the last of that house. I said not Éomer, answered Hama, and he is not the last. There is Éowyn, daughter of Eamund, his sister. She is fearless and high-hearted. All love her. Let her be as lord to the Erlingus while we are gone. It shall be so, said Théoden. Let the heralds announce to the folk that the lady Éowyn will lead them. Then the king sat upon a seat before his doors, and Éowyn knelt before him, and received from him a sword and a fair corslet. Farewell, sister-daughter, he said. Dark is the hour, yet maybe we shall return to the Golden Hall. But in Dunharrow the people may long defend themselves, and if the battle go ill, thither will come all who escape.
All 6 or 7 of them limping along.
All 6 and 7 of them.
Seriously. So it looks like we're all ready to go now, right? I mean, Théoden thinks to the future. I have no child now that Théoden has died, so I'm going to name Éomer my heir. Of course, if he doesn't come back, pick somebody else, whoever you want. Yeah.
That implies some hope, I think.
I think so.
Not hope for himself. He doesn't care about whether he survives, but he trusts that his people will find a way to survive. That
Exactly. He has hope for his people.
Yeah.
Hope for his land. Yeah, absolutely.
But he also thinks to the present, too. We need a steward,
Yeah.
somebody to stay here and care for my people while we're at war. And yet, none of his lords or chiefs are going to stay. They all want to be with him. They all want to fight.
Oh, of course they do, yeah.
So then he asks the obvious question, like, okay, well, if you're not going to stay, then who would you name? Who should stay behind?
Mm-hmm. And the key here is, who do they trust, right?
Mm-hmm.
Hama answers the question. They trust in the house of Eorl. They trust in your line.
Sure.
Théoden thinks he means Éomer, but, Hama is the Yoda of Rohan.
That is another.
Oh, well done. Well done.
He means Éowyn.
Yeah, he does.
And I love the way he describes her. She's fearless, she's high-hearted, and she's beloved.
Yeah.
She can be as a lord while we're all gone.
And we can forgive Théoden for not thinking about Éowyn immediately.
Oh, of course. That's very outside of the box thinking.
Yeah, I mean,
no
he's
doubt.
like the 70-year-old king. Obviously, he's used to the way things have always been done.
Right. And we have a question on that sort of thing later.
Yeah,
don't
we do.
We
absolutely do. On
line of
sort
succession.
Yeah. We would expect Hama, who has already shown himself to be a bit of a free thinker. He's the kind of guy who doesn't just blindly follow orders.
That's a very good point. Yeah.
Yeah. We would expect him, I think, a little bit to suggest kind of this outside the box suggestion of Éowyn.
Yeah, the more you say that, the more I see that as being, you're right. That's really Hama's sort of role, isn't it?
It is, isn't it?
I like that guy.
He has the ideas that nobody else has. It's kind of cool.
Yeah.
He definitely has a personality. He's a character who doesn't really do that much in the story. I mean, obviously he does some very important stuff in this chapter, but he's not like a major character. And yet he does have a pretty definable personality trait here.
Yeah, he's got a streak where he doesn't just do what the standard is.
Yeah.
It's not that he's a rebel or anything, but he thinks for himself. He clearly has his own opinions. Yeah.
And yet, even though he does kind of propose this idea that Théoden certainly didn't see coming, Théoden sees the wisdom of it. He agrees.
Right.
This is very wise for Théoden to see, yeah, you know what? This does make sense. Of course.
Immediately. I mean, there's not even a line, well, Théoden pondered this for a bit. No, it's just, it shall be so.
Yeah, and there's not even like I don't know about that.
No hesitation.
He's like, yep, absolutely. You're right.
Yeah.
And so he bestows this authority on her. Éowyn kneels before him.
Right.
And she gets a sword and corslet.
And a corslet is not a corset, okay?
No, it's not a corset.
I just want to make sure we understand what a corslet is.
Thank you for pointing that out. Yep. And he reminds her to, stay here. And if you need to escape to Dunharrow. That's where we'll go.
Yeah.
Or whoever's left, if we have to.
Yeah, the 6 or 7 of us with the broken shields, right? She gets a little dramatic in the part right after you read. She talks about, a year shall I endure for every day that passes. And I'm not mocking her for that. It's just, she's not talking about Théoden, is she?
No, she's not talking about Théoden.
No. Aragorn picks up on it because he's been quiet this whole time. But he is talking about Théoden, I think, when he says the king shall come again. He's not talking about himself, is he?
No, I don't think so. I think he's talking about Théoden. He's assuming she's talking about Théoden, so he's talking about Théoden. Or maybe part of him thinks that she might be talking about him, and that makes him a little uncomfortable.
That's correct. I think he's correcting her by saying, don't worry, the king's coming again. Not me.
Yeah.
No, you don't. Yeah. I think he can read right through her because she's looking at him.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
I mean, that's what the text even says. As she spoke, her eyes went to Aragorn.
So he's diverting, like, focus on the king. The king will be back.
King, he's standing right next to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
And then we've got that last bit that Aragorn says about our doom lying elsewhere. Not in the west, but east does our doom await us. We're going to have to come back through here on the way to the east.
That's right. And that's really the more important fight.
Mm-hmm.
We got to get this one first.
Yep.
But the one that decides our time is the one in the east. That's where our doom is. Yeah.
Right.
So we're going to skip a little bit, right? They head downstairs. They get out towards the gate. Éowyn is standing there, clad in the mail, shining like silver in the sun. It's just a beautiful sight.
Oh, yeah.
Gimli and Legolas have a little bit of a back and forth, but we have to skip all of that so that we can continue to read because there's so many amazing things to read. And I'm going to pick up at the gate. At the gate, they found a great host of men, old and young, all ready in the saddle. More than 1,000 were there mustered. Their spears were like a springing wood. Loudly and joyously they shouted as Théoden came forth. Some held in readiness the king's horse, Snowmane, and others held the horses of Aragorn and Legolas. Gimli stood ill at ease, frowning, but Éomer came up to him, leading his horse. "Hail, Gimli, Glóin's son," he cried. "I've not had time to learn gentle speech under your rod as you promised. But shall we not put aside our quarrel? At least I will speak no evil again of the Lady of the Wood." "I will forget my wrath for a while, Éomer, son of Éowyn," said Gimli. "But if ever you chance to see the Lady Galadriel with your eyes, then you shall acknowledge her the fairest of ladies, or our friendship will end." "So be it," said Éomer. "But until that time, pardon me, and in token of pardon, ride with me, I beg. Gandalf will be at the head with the Lord of the Mark, but Firefoot, my horse, will bear us both, if you will." "I thank you indeed," said Gimli, greatly pleased. "I will gladly go with you, if Legolas, my comrade, may ride beside us." "It shall be so," said Éomer. "Legolas upon my left, and Aragorn upon my right, and none will dare to stand before us."
All right. Well, going back to some stuff that we skipped over before your passage, the guys head down the stair. There's this incredible sight of Éowyn at the doors.
Oh, what a gorgeous sight that is, the shining like silver in the sun.
Clad now in mail, hands on the hilt of the sword. It's just this statuesque vision that she is. I mean,
stern as steel. That's really what this scene reminds me of. Yeah. She's standing there with the sword upright and her hands are on the hilt. Oh,
she's got so much power here. She's absolutely worthy of the role that she's been given.
Oh, without a doubt.
So yeah, it's awesome. Moving on, Gimli and Legolas are kind of bantering on their way down.
Yeah. Mostly
about Gimli not really wanting to ride, Don't want to be like a sack at Gandalf's saddlebow.
He's a one-note Johnny again.
Yeah.
If it's now that we've gotten past, hey, but what about the old man?
Right. Now it's like, hey, I don't really want to ride a horse. Yeah, let's go fight. But have I mentioned to you guys that I don't like horses? Yes. You've mentioned that you don't like riding horses. Well, have I mentioned that I like Galadriel? Yes.
Yes.
You've mentioned that you love like Galadriel.
So they get to the gate and there are already more than 1,000 men ready to ride. This is amazing.
Pretty awesome.
And what a visual this is, right? We get the visual of their spears, but then we also get the sound of their shouting. It's more of that sensory language that we get so often.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Visual, auditory, a lot of different senses there.
Loud and joyous. The spears just like a springing wood. It's gorgeous.
Then we get the name of Théoden's horse. This is the first time we've seen his horse named Snowmane.
Yes.
Now, the meaning of that name is probably pretty obvious to any English speaker, but Tolkien gives a little bit of word nerdery in the nomenclature, so I'll bring it in here. Like Shadowfax, translated into modern English form for Snawmana, and he recommended translators render it as Snawmana in the original Old English, or translate it into another Germanic language.
Fair enough. I wonder how many of the translators actually paid attention to that. I hope they did.
I always wonder how many translators actually followed his advice in the nomenclature.
I know. Yeah. I know. So Gimli and Éomer have a chat next, and I love this bit. That's why I wanted to read it, just because, the two of them did not get off on the
no, not at all.
Footing at the beginning.
This is a great bro moment here.
It is. It's a great bro moment, and it's instigated by Éomer. Another reason to just love this guy. He comes up to Gimli and suggests first they set aside their quarrel. I love it.
And so, yeah, Gimli's right there with him. He plays along. Okay, I'll forget my wrath for a while. But
yeah, for a little while. That's
when
right.
you see Galadriel, you better agree that she's the most beautiful thing on earth, or I'm not going to be your friend anymore.
I love that. Our friendship will end. I'm done with you, man.
Yeah.
So Éomer agrees to the terms, right? So be it.
Yeah.
But then in what I think is one of the neatest little moments that you just skim by, he asks Gimli, hey, you want to ride with me on Firefoot?
That is so cool.
And he presents this amazing picture, doesn't he, right? Gandalf on Shadowfax, Théoden on Snowmane at the very front. And right behind, you've got Legolas on Arad, Éomer and Gimli on Firefoot, and Aragorn on Hasufel. Those are 5 horses with 6 people that I don't want to see coming my way.
Absolutely.
Unless I'm on their side. Right. Ooh.
It's awesome.
That is some power right there.
It is awesome. It is a great description.
It really is. No wonder Éomer says none will dare stand before us.
For sure.
He's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyone would be crazy to do so.
This is the elite. Yeah.
But it's such a great fellowship moment, this moment between Éomer and Gimli, kind of putting aside their differences, recognizing, we are friends and we're comrades, but we're more than that. We're friends. And
yeah,
that's great. It's one of the things I love so much about book 3 is that there's so many of these moments.
There really are. And unexpected ones like that.
Yeah.
You expect fellowship moments from the fellowship.
Sure.
But when you see things like Théoden saying, you're right, my hospitality is not so great. Let me feed you and make sure you get some rest.
Yeah.
And you see Éomer saying, hey, let's put aside our quarrel. And, they're bantering. He's not saying seriously, well, let's put aside our quarrel. It's more like, we never really had a quarrel before. Let's forget about that because we are friends.
Yeah.
We're on the same side now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the way that, guys often talk to each other. And friends often talk to each other. I don't want to limit it to just guys. I mean, friends, they kind of have this sort of this friendly ribbing of each other, this quarrel we have. But really, I love you. You're my brother,
Right.
And that's great. It's a great moment.
You're my short brother.
Very short brother.
I love it, though. It's
but
great scene.
Not as short as you would have been if I would have cut off your head, if it stood but a little higher from the ground.
If it did, which is the whole point. If you were taller, you'd be shorter.
Right.
That's kind of what he's saying.
Yeah. If you were taller, you'd be shorter. I like that.
Yeah. So I'm going to have you take the rest of the chapter here. After skipping a little paragraph.
Just a couple sentences. We'll skip. And then we'll go ahead and finish.
All right.
Gandalf whistled and called aloud the horse's name, and far away he tossed his head and neighed, and turning, sped towards the host like an arrow. Were the breath of the west wind to take a body visible, even so would it appear, said Éomer, as the great horse ran up, until he stood before the wizard. The gift seems already to be given, said Théoden. But hearken all. Here now I name my guest, Gandalf Greyheim, wisest of counsellors, most welcome of wanderers, a lord of the Mark, a chieftain of the Erlingus while our kin shall last, and I give to him Shadowfax, Prince of Horses. I thank you, Théoden King, said Gandalf. Then suddenly he threw back his grey cloak, and cast aside his hat, and leaped to horseback. He wore no helm nor mail. His snowy hair flew free in the wind, his white robes shone dazzling in the sun. Behold the White Rider, cried Aragorn, and all took up the words. Our king and the White Rider, they shouted. Forth, Eorlingus! The trumpets sounded. The horses reared and neighed. Spear clashed on shield. Then the king raised his hand, and with a rush like the sudden onset of a great wind, the last host of Rohan rode thundering into the west. Far over the plain, Éowyn saw the glitter of their spears as she stood still, alone, before the doors of the silent house.
And with that, one of my favorite chapters ends.
Yeah.
And another favorite chapter begins.
Yeah. That's the one good thing about finishing The King of the Golden Hall, is that we're going on to Helm's Deep.
Yeah, boy, that is going to be something. But let's finish this up first. Going back to Gandalf calling Shadowfax, and I love the way Éomer describes him as the visible breath of the west wind.
That's really cool.
That is neat.
Yeah. Run like the wind, Bullseye, as Woody might say. Sorry, that's terrible.
That is awesome, though. Oh, man. Run like the wind, Bullseye.
That's a passable Tom Hanks, man. I like that.
That is. I can do him.
Yeah, that's good.
You are a toy.
It's really good.
And he probably comes from watching Toy Story
Probably.
way too many times.
Oh, man. Well,
oh, man.
So, yeah, Shadowfax comes up and Théoden confirms his gift to Gandalf in front of all his men, right?
Yeah.
I love the way he does this. I mean, he doesn't just give him the horse. He has the most amazing things to say about Gandalf. Wisest of counselors, most welcome of wanderers. Remember,
love it.
8 pages ago,
Stormcrow.
Yeah, he was Stormcrow. He was this wanderer suddenly showing up with these beggars. And now it's most welcome of wanderers. Oh, this is such a great twist.
And he even names him a Lord of the Mark.
A Lord of the Mark.
That is something.
Now, come on. We don't just throw that title around. We don't just give that title to anybody, do we?
No. I mean, he's essentially making him, a noble in his land.
I mean, that would be like if just like some dude, like, I don't know, started a podcast and just started calling himself the Lord of the Mark. You don't do that. You just don't do that.
That takes way too much,
Overmode?
Overmode.
Yeah.
That's a great way to put it.
That's fair.
Yeah. Self-aggrandizement. Yeah.
Wow. Thanks.
But that's okay. I've called myself the Dunedain. I mean, come on.
Well,
I think I'm even more egotistical.
You look great for 88.
Not so great for 52, but pretty good for 88. Yeah, I'll take that.
Oh, man. So, yes, as you said, he does name him a Lord of the Mark and a chieftain of the Aerlingus.
Yeah.
Yeah. While our kin shall last. For as long as there are an Aerlingus.
For the next couple of days here. Yeah.
For as long as we have a people to be a chieftain of, you're going to be a chieftain.
Which, may only be till Tuesday.
Right.
Yeah.
But no, this is an acknowledgement of the role he's played, isn't it? This is recognition of the amazing transformation that he's wrought over Théoden. And, no one will doubt it again, I don't think, that Gandalf is a friend of Rohan and someone who is welcome.
That's correct. Absolutely. And then, of course, we get the revelation of Gandalf, right? He reveals himself here. The snowy white hair, the shining white robes. This is such a moment, right?
Yeah.
Throws back the cloak, casts his hat aside. He leaps. This old man leaps to horseback.
That's like a movie Legolas move,
It is, right. Yeah. And the robes are shining and dazzling in the sun. This is a cinematic moment to be absolutely certain. I mean, it's a gorgeous moment.
It is.
And Aragorn, the king himself, behold the white rider, and all the crowd takes up those words.
They all pick up it all. Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. What a moment of chills that must be. Just Yeah.
And then they're off. Forth Aerlingus, and they ride.
Oh, and the trumpets and the horses rearing and neighing and the spears on the shields. This is overwhelming sensory moment.
Yep.
Powerful. So powerful. And then the last host of Rohan rides, thundering rides into the west.
Into the west. Yeah.
Oh, so amazing. Really is.
But then the contrast to that, right? The noise and power of that charge.
Yes.
Contrasts with this last bit in the chapter, which belongs to Éowyn, silent and still.
The stillness and the quiet.
The exact opposite of all that noise and all that. What's the word I'm looking for here? Bravado, I think, is the word I'm looking for.
Yeah,
just this very heroic, yes, we're going, forth Aerlingus. And Éowyn is silent and still, showing a very different kind of strength, but still strength.
Her strength.
Yeah.
Her very unique strength. Yeah. Absolutely.
Amazing. Wow. And this has to be something that Tolkien, I think anyone who's, I assume, because I haven't served my country in that way, but I think anyone who's fought in a war has to imagine, those who stay behind, right? Those who stay behind waiting while others go to war, whether it's a wife or parents or, anyone else in your life. And you see this is the role that Éowyn is playing for now.
Yeah. Yeah. Her uncle, the man she loves,
all going off to war. She has no idea if she'll see them again. And that is one type of strength that she has, is the strength to be able to say goodbye to them now. Not literally say goodbye, but to,
That's a good point. It takes as much courage to be able to do that as it takes courage for these guys to get on their horses and go face Saruman's army. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a great moment. And it's just a wonderful contrast with the ride.
It really is. Yeah, you're right. The loud, the fury, and the sound and smell of the horses and the dust being kicked in the air and the spears and the shouting. And then that quiet strength, that reserve.
Yeah.
That stillness. Yeah.
Pretty incredible stuff.
It really, really is. You're right.
As we've wrapped up the chapter, I think there's one more thing we want to talk about here, which is the fact that, like a lot of Book 3, these 3 episodes in this chapter have taken place over a very short period of time, especially when you compare it to something like Book 2, where, a chapter would take weeks, months. Scheme tells us that the 4 travelers reached Meduseld about 8:30, and they talked with Théoden at about 10:30. Now, we're even told that thunder passes over from east at 11 a.m., so we know exactly what time it is when that happens earlier in the chapter.
Right.
Then we get the Cliffs Notes version of the chapter. King Théoden is healed by Gandalf, pardons Éomer, host of Rohan is mustered, sets out 2 p.m., camps in plain 50 miles west of Edoras at night.
So this whole chapter covers less than 6 hours.
Yeah.
That's pretty amazing.
We spent almost that talking about it.
I think you're right. I think we might have, actually, when all is said and done.
Yeah.
We also learn in Scheme what happened with Wormtongue. We mentioned we'd come back to this. He flies to Isengard about 1 p.m. on an old, slow horse. That's what Tolkien says. I love it. You just see him now like, come on, get going. Like,
not the West Wind made flesh Wormtongue horse.
No. The scheme continues. Saruman, informed by spies, birds, of riding of Théoden, sends out his whole army about 10:30 that night. Second Battle of Isen Fords. Erkenbrand of Westfold is defeated and retreats towards Helm's Deep, night of 2nd, 3rd of March, sending remaining horsemen away back to Edoras. And we'll talk about that battle next week when we get to Helm's Deep.
Yes, we will.
Oh. Well, I raise my hand, and with a rush like the sudden onset of a great wind, the last of Bartleman's bag is dumped on my desk. So let's take a look and see what's in there. After that, the talk still continues all night long at the Prancing Pony.
It absolutely does. Our wonderful listener community keeps the conversation going in all of our social media spaces. At our common room on Facebook, you'll find comments, questions, corrections, and more on every episode, as well as updates from us throughout the week. Just look for the Prancing Pony Podcast on Facebook.
And be sure to follow the page and join the group that we've recently created. It lets us keep you up to date on the latest happenings here at the PPP, including our digital moot. But the group is a great place to hang out with your fellow listeners and discuss Tolkien and all the fun things about the show.
Absolutely. And of course, we also have some really good discussions going on over on Reddit. You can find us there at r/prancingponypod. And don't forget to follow us on Twitter and Instagram, both with the handle @prancingponypod. And if you're enjoying the show, please share us and please consider giving us a review on Apple Podcasts.
Please do. And if you want exclusive content like postscripts to our episodes, full bonus episodes, live Discord events with Sean and me, and episodes without digital ads, then check out patreon.com/prancingponypod, where you can support the show by joining the Fellowship of the Podcast. Now, let's go ahead and see what messages Bartleman has brought us. Sean.
All right. Well, to start tonight, Paul G. writes in with an interesting question about the line of succession in Rohan, which you alluded to earlier. Paul points out that twice in the history of Rohan, the line of succession went from the king to his sister's son. In the case of Théoden, the succession went to Éomer, spoilers, the son of his sister Théoden. However, according to Appendix A, Théoden also had 2 other sisters who were older than Théoden. If they had sons, wouldn't those sons have had a better claim to the kingship than Éomer? Good question, Paul. He goes on to give us his answer. He says, I can think of 2 reasons why this situation didn't happen. Firstly, neither of the older sisters had sons. Secondly, the older sisters were born in Gondor and had a Gondorian mother. Perhaps they married Gondorian men and carried on living there after Théoden returned to Rohan. Any sons they had would consider themselves men of Gondor and would not have wished to be king of another nation. This is only a very minor point in the history of the Third Age, but it might have had the potential to lead to a civil war in the Mark.
Sure, I suppose so. This one's going to get in the weeds a little bit, but it's a fun set of weeds, so let's dive in.
Yeah, it is.
First, we're going to take a look at the text that Paul's talking about in Appendix A. Thengel, that's Théoden's father, took no wife until late, but in 2943 he wedded Morwen of Lasarnach in Gondor, though she was 17 years the younger. She bore him 3 children in Gondor, of whom Théoden, the second, was his only son. That would be Thengel's father. So when Thengel died, the Rohirrim recalled Thengel, and he returned unwillingly. But he proved a good and wise king, though the speech of Gondor was used in his house, and not all men thought that good. Morwen bore him 2 more daughters in Rohan, and the last, Théoden, was the fairest, though she came late, 2963, the child of his age. Her brother loved her dearly.
So there are actually 3 sisters older than Théoden.
Yeah.
There was one born before Théoden, and then another born after him, both in Gondor. And then there was one more sister born in Rohan.
Mm-hmm.
So now let's take a look at the years. The text tells us that Thengel was 38 when he married the 21-year-old Morwen in Gondor. So when Fengel died, that's Fengel with an F, Thengel's father, Thengel, Théoden's father, returned unwillingly to Rohan. Now Fengel with an F died in 2953, so Thengel with a TH would have been 48, and Morwen, his wife, would have been 31.
Right.
We don't know what year the oldest daughter was born, but we do know that Théoden was born in 2948, so he was only 5 when they returned to Rohan.
Yeah, he was a little boy. Yeah.
That elder daughter would have been no more than 9 years old, and the littlest no older than 4. So Fengel's coming home with a very young family.
Yeah, boy, you're not kidding. 8, 5, and 3 maybe, or something in that range. And that family continues with 2 more daughters. Now, again, no date is given for the third daughter, their 4th child. But their last daughter, Théoden, was born in 2963 when Thengel was 58 and Morwen was 41, the child of his age indeed. But now that we have that all laid out, what do we know about the Rohirric rules of succession? Well, it appears to be similar to that of the stewards of Gondor once that office became a hereditary one. That was a variation on what's known as the Salic law. It's an agnatic primogeniture system that would exclude females from inheriting title. But the variation, and by the way, just to explain that, primogeniture means
the firstborn child, right?
But agnatic is only the sons.
Yeah, it means agnatic means no women, right? Yeah.
Right. Agnatic, right. No women. So it means the firstborn son would be the one who inherits the title.
Right.
So the Salic law excluded all females from inheriting title. But the variation in it that the stewards of Gondor appeared to have adapted, and that in turn the Rohirrim seem to have adopted, allows for women to transmit the right to succession while never possessing it themselves. There are a couple of examples of this in The Heirs of Elendil, which is in the History of Middle-earth, Volume 12, Peoples of Middle-earth. Now, without getting bogged down in the details of those lines, we'll just say that it appears Rohan has adapted that same method.
Yeah, and we can base this in part on 2 occurrences in the history. First, that Freya was the 4th child of Aldor, but he was the eldest son, and he became king of the Mark. So clearly it's not absolute primogeniture because Freya's older sisters didn't have a chance to inherit it.
Correct.
The other occurrence has to do with Helm. We know that he had a daughter because remember, we talked about this 2 episodes ago. Fricka asked for Helm's daughter's hand for his son Wolf. But when Helm and his sons died, the kingship did not pass to his daughter, whom we don't even know her name, but to Freyalaf.
So all that to say that in theory, yes, a son of one of Théoden's older sisters, if any of his older sisters had sons, would have better legal claim to the throne. And this is key, were Théoden to die without naming an heir. I mean, it was fun to look into all that. Don't get me wrong. I loved it. That was a really cool little exploration. But at the end of the day, Théoden did something that Helm didn't do, at least not in the text, and that is to directly name his heir. We heard that in this chapter. The mere fact that Théoden did that suggests that he has the legal right within their system of succession to do so long as it is a male heir, presumably.
Yeah, and I think that that is something that is very Germanic in a way, too.
Yeah.
You know, I think that historically, the Germanic peoples didn't all follow the Salic law quite so closely. So it does make sense that he has the ability to name an heir. And then once he's named an heir, well, that's it. He's named an heir. It doesn't really matter what the succession rules say.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing that I would add to that, which I agree with all of, and it was a lot of fun to look into, is something that Paul alluded to in the question, which is we don't even know whether any of those older sisters had a son.
That's true. We don't.
I mean, to be fair, we don't even know how many of them lived that long.
That's
long
true
enough
too.
to have children at all. I mean, they're not named, and there's no talk of any other sisters or sister sons or even sister daughters around the court. So
that's right.
While it's possible, as Paul says, that maybe those kids that were born in Gondor earlier just felt more Gondorian and stayed behind.
Which is possible.
It is possible. It's also possible they just didn't survive or didn't have any kids or didn't have any sons.
Or that their children didn't live long enough.
Or that their children didn't live long. Yeah, this is a medieval style world after all.
That's right.
Child mortality would have been pretty high. But even barring some horrible series of tragedies and child mortalities, we just don't have any reason to believe any of them had a son. And I think that the text itself is kind of proof of that. I realize that the absence of proof is not the proof of absence, but
True.
still, I think it's some combination of all these factors. Probably no sons because we don't see any running around. And Théoden just named his heir. So there you go.
Right. And apparently he had the right to do so. I think also it's worth mentioning, remember, Théoden brought Éomer and Éowyn into his home as his children, essentially.
That
at
is
a
true.
Very young age.
That is true. There was a very strong bond between them.
They were, in a way, his son and daughter. Legally or not, I don't know.
They were his adopted children, really. They're never
Right.
called that exactly, but they pretty much were.
No, they're called foster. But, it's in those times, foster essentially meant that.
Mhm.
I'm thinking, in a way, even of Bilbo's adoption of Frodo.
Yeah.
Frodo wasn't Bilbo's son, but he was his legal heir.
Right.
He had the right to name him that, much to the chagrin of the Sackville Bagginses.
Right, exactly.
And I think we have that similar kind of thing here is Éomer and Éowyn are, for all intents and purposes, children of the king.
Yeah.
Even if they're not literally children.
Yep.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Again, I think he could only have named Éomer because he qualified.
Yes. He had to be eligible to begin with.
Right. I want to be very clear about that. He could never have named Hama as his heir.
He probably couldn't even have named Éowyn as his heir, from what we see. It doesn't seem like he could have.
No, probably not. If this was indeed the primogeniture that we talked about, the agnatic primogeniture.
Right.
So, yeah.
No, great question, Paul. Thank you very much.
Yeah, fun stuff.
And Alan, what do you think? We have time for one more?
One more quick one. Kit D asks us the question that's been on the minds of hundreds, okay, maybe dozens of listeners. In the Council of Elrond, Gandalf says, "By day his coat glistens like silver, and by night it is like a shade, and he passes unseen." I found myself wondering what color Shadowfax actually is. While Tolkien does later describe a snow-covered peak as silver, I can't imagine a white horse fading into the shadows in the dark. It seems to me that Shadowfax should at least be light gray, and not white as he was in the movies. Of course, they later refer to Gandalf as the White Rider, but Gandalf himself calls Shadowfax the horse of the White Rider, which suggests to me that the white refers to Gandalf's cloak and not his mount. What do you guys think? Are there any descriptions of Shadowfax that clear this up? Confession, I'd like it if he was gray. I have a soft spot for gray horses, which is why I'm afraid I may be making Balrog wings out of a metaphor. I love that. We've been looking forward to this one for some time now, Sean, and I can't believe I'm going to let you take this first, but go ahead.
I feel like we've talked about it a few times, but we've never really been all that definitive, have we?
No, I don't think we have.
And to answer Kit's question, I don't think that he's described anywhere aside from the bits that we've seen and that we'll talk about here. But
Right.
so, yeah, I mean, his color is a matter of some contention, to be fair. But despite the fact that he's not described in any real detail, we do have one important piece of evidence that we need to talk about, and that is his name.
Yeah.
His name is derived from an Old English term, Shadowfax, which means shadow mane or shadow coat.
Shadow. Yeah.
Shadow. He is described as having a glistening silver coat, and yes, as Kit says, that is arguably ambiguous, but we are told that he's unseen at night because his coat is like a shade.
Right.
And earlier in this chapter, we read that Shadowfax was a gray shadow before them, hardly to be seen.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Now, despite all of this, of course, who can forget the beautiful white horse that Ian McKellen calls to in the movie?
Oh, yeah.
Very striking image, wonderful scene, wonderful. Yeah, exactly. That awesome whistle.
Yeah.
Wonderful set of scenes and a gorgeous horse. So why did Jackson cast a white horse in the films? Is that entirely incorrect that he did so?
Well, the brief answer is yes, but with a caveat. We've spoken with our community equine expert, Debbie B., and she explains that most white horses are actually gray horses. Yes, there are actual white horses, but that's never what Shadowfax is described as.
Right.
And what happens is these gray horses turn white over time. White hairs show up in the coat as they gray out. So there's a few white hairs here and there, and the more those white hairs mix with the darker original hairs, the lighter the shade. So they appear to be turning gray and then eventually white. But until they're white, it's a mix of hair colors. They could even go through a dappled phase where they have light gray spots on a darker gray coat. Debbie thinks, and I agree with her, that the Shadowfax in the books was actually gray, not white, but that as an older horse, as he grayed out, he would eventually turn white.
Okay, that's fair. I mean, I know Debbie knows her horses, and I implicitly trust her assessment of the gray-white thing.
Yeah, me too.
And a gray horse is certainly where I land based just on the name. So I'm actually glad to hear her experience with horses kind of bearing that out.
Yeah. Yeah.
At the same time, I can't really fault Peter Jackson for casting a white horse. It was an absolutely beautiful
Gorgeous
creature. And white horses have been a common way to telegraph the heroes in movies going back, at least as far as like classic movie westerns, probably farther than that.
Mm-hmm. Certainly.
Plus, other Tolkien artists have depicted Shadowfax as white before Jackson did.
That's right.
I just kind of think it's one of those things that in our heads we think should be the case. Like, oh, Gandalf is the White Rider, so he should have a white horse, right?
Yeah, he's the hero. Right.
You would expect him to have a white horse. But when you start digging into things a little deeper, the name Shadowfax really strongly suggests that Tolkien was thinking of a gray horse that was actually gray.
Kind of what it says on the tin, basically.
Pretty much.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, eventually he'll become white because gray horses become white.
Right.
Because a gray horse is really white hair mixed with the other shades of, the other hair. But he's not there yet. He's not an old horse. He's still
in his prime.
Mighty, in his prime, exactly. Well, folks, that wraps it up for another episode of the Prancing Pony Podcast. But please be sure to join us again next week when we head into the mountains for a little time at Spa Hornburg.
I hear there's a nice jacuzzi in the caves there. Now, as always, we want to take a moment to thank some truly important people, our patrons at the Cúiread's contribution tier. We're going to share this list now as we did last episode as well. And I'm going to start with Dumay in Alaska, James in Virginia, Tamsin in Minnesota, Chad in Texas, Lance in New Jersey, Paul in Colorado, Jerry in Texas, Bruce in California, Mario in Utah, Seth in Texas, and Ella in California.
And there's also Joseph in Texas, Kathy from North Carolina, Lori from Washington, Josh in Oklahoma, Carlos in California, Brian from the UK, Cameron in Nevada, Ned from Connecticut, Thad from Georgia, Jerry from Washington, and Nick from Wisconsin. Thank you all so much for your support.
Thank you all, really.
Yeah. And of course, we also want to thank the team that helps make the show better. That includes our research assistants, as well as our barlowman, Becca Davis, producer Jordan Rennells, social media manager Casey Hilsey, event and Patreon community coordinator Katie McKenna, and website guru Phil Dean.
This show absolutely would not be what it is without our supporters and our teammates. So really, thank you all so much. Now, folks, be sure you don't miss any episodes of the Prancing Pony Podcast. Subscribe to the show through Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your favorite podcast app.
And one last thing as always, don't forget to send your thoughts, comments, and most of all, your white robes dazzling in the sun to Bartleman at the Prancing Pony Podcast.
No, but that means they have to take them off first, and we don't.
I hadn't thought about that.
Don't want
that. Okay. Now, pictures of you wearing your white robes dazzling in the sun.
Please.
Yeah, that's better. Okay.
Bartleman is a lot more reliable these days, but we do get a lot of mail. We'll get to you as soon as we can, and your question or comment might be featured on a future episode.
Indeed. As always, this has been far too short a time to spend among such excellent and admirable listeners. But until next time.
Farewell, friends.